Earlier this week I was on the OBDM podcast, and we're gracious enough to offer some airtime tonight to Midnight Mike. And I know, Mike, when we ended that interview there, and I was like, "Yeah, I got to talk to Scott and get you on the guest roster." And I forgot you were on this week on
Yeah,
that day, even though Scott told me. He's like, "Yeah, Mike's going to be on the show Sunday after you're on the show." So I apologize for that. How you doing tonight, brother?
I'm doing all right. Just digesting everything that you guys are talking about. A lot has happened within the past 14 days. Yeah, like you said, is it going to be a racial conflict, or is it now still ideological or transgender? There's so many things up in the air, but it does seem like all the moves that are happening, at least as far as we can tell online, it does seem to be pawn moves. These aren't like rooks doing or anything, or knight moves. These are pawn moves right now.
No, agreed, agreed. And the pawns, I mean, you've got you get 3 different areas, if I can remember correctly. Like, there's people, because of Charlie Shooter, they were looking into trans terrorist groups, and then there's other people looking into, like, did Israel do it? And like, there's these bifurcations. There, like, Charlie was a racist and a Nazi. Like, if you watch the claims of people who have watched chopped up, out of context clips, and what they think, like, those are psychological warfare edits to make one side think that the guy who's willing to sit down and have a conversation is the most evil among us. And I think probably the best meme that I saw, other than this one, I'll show you. Like, this was a feeling that was out there. But the other one was the meme where Charlie Kirk is the dam holding back the right wing extremists or whatever. And the Charlie was the one willing to go to like college campuses and have a conversation with people. And I don't know that a lot of other people would see a lot of time or value in that. They would probably just take up arms against oppressors and move on with it. So I think it's time for there's no healing until we can get to like the root cause and treat it. But I think we need to be patient, and we need to give benefit of the doubt, and we need to not jump to conclusions. And
It's
on
fun to
the other
do.
side, you keep your mind open until you find the fact that's like that's what happened, and then you close it on that and move on.
I don't know if we're gonna find that though. I don't know if we're gonna
No.
find. I think people are comfortable with whatever proximate truth that they agree with at this point. I dipped into Facebook because I have an account there, and
Very brave.
I'm mostly friends and linked up with people I used to play like local shows with, like rock people, band people. And I would say a vast majority, I would say 75%, were celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk. I chimed in once to say to kill a person, essentially, you probably shouldn't kill somebody over the words or the art that they make. You may have just turned this guy into a martyr, whether you like it or not. And I got one person saying, basically, gave me a hmm, because most of these people I'm talking to on Facebook, they're Gen X. They're probably 90s Democrats, like how I was raised. And so there was a spirit of conversation. There was a lot more agree to disagree. And there were political discussions between Democrats and Republicans. And it didn't really come to this level of hatred, but it really has blown up. And it's all points to social media and basically one big, long psychological operation that's been taking place probably since 2010, 2012.
Yes. And while I can see that layer, I just see there's this other layer that I don't know that is connected, but there are so many coincidences that dropped this week that I was like, you see one coincidence, okay, you see a couple coincidences, okay, you know, they happen occasionally, but other times there's something more being satiated. So I don't know the details on the useful idiot with the 30-06 allegedly, or anything that's going to come out tomorrow. I don't know yet. I only know what has happened this week up to the beginning of this show. So at this point, Mike, what I'd like to do is, because you're a host,
Mm,
I want you to ride shotgun with this and just sit in third chair, and we're going to watch some clips and comment on it, if
let's
that's
do
cool
it.
with you. All right,
Yeah, let's
cool.
do it. Let's make it
All
happen.
right, so up next, I I didn't watch a lot of Charlie Kirk. I'm not going to pretend that I did, because I saw most of the conversations were going on with people on campuses that I was like, leave them to Jesus, or leave them the leave them the Marks, bro. You're not leading them to Jesus. But I agree that there's like a a whole demographic there that needs that forum to hear the other side's argument. And I think what he did there and doing it so often and so long was brilliant. And there's other people who have done it on smaller scale, but he took it to a large scale. So I thought before we get into the news of him, I should show for the record for the time capsule so people in the future have an idea because they've probably only heard one side or the other. I just want to show you a couple minutes of Charlie Kirk doing what he does on a college campus. This happens to do with Second Amendment, and Charlie had posted it on his page. It was the best gun debate I've had in years, he said. So let's watch a couple minutes of that, and then we're going to bring news of the first shot from Jeremy Hambley at the quartering.
Hey, Charlie, how are you? So I just had a question on your thoughts on if we need more gun control in the country or not. I'm very pro protecting America and the citizens that live in it. And so I think that we should have more gun control because there's a lot of school shootings that happen, as we mentioned. And, I just think it would do a lot to protect the people. And I think the Second Amendment also qualifies that we should have regulations for guns. I wanted to know your thoughts on that.
Sure. Do you think gun ownership is a right or a privilege?
I think it's a right, but it comes with responsibilities.
Okay, tell me more.
Well, I think that there should be things in place, things like red flag laws and things like that. The AG just approved Mel Gibson to get his gun rights back, even though he had a domestic violence charge. So, I don't think the people that commit these violent crimes should be able to buy guns and things like that. And I think we should have red flag laws in place to make sure that those violent criminals aren't getting guns.
Okay, so let's go. So tell me, in your perfect world, what would constitute a red flag?
Just things like, we can look into any kind of medication and things like that that can affect someone's...
That could be dangerous, right? That could be there's a lot of vets that come home from war and that are on a lot of medication. A lot of vets could have their weapons taken away.
Well, I'm not necessarily saying... Bless you. Bless you.
Thank you. It's the pollen or something. Thank you.
I'm not necessarily saying, it's mainly to prevent, future shootings and things like that, and also... putting in place things like a federal registry so that we know, the types of guns that people have. And, it would just essentially be a federal registry that shows these are the guns that this person has, in case a cop has to go on something like a domestic call. That's the most dangerous call they can go on. So,
yeah, I could see you're coming after this from a good perspective. Let me ask one other question. What would you say is the ultimate and final purpose of the Second Amendment?
I think it's self-defense against a tyrannical government, which...
We agree. Sure, great. Keep going.
Well, but I think within the Second Amendment, it also implies that we have high regulations in the first four words.
Sort of.
Well,
well-regulated militia actually meant well-armed, but that's a separate issue. But
well, how do you know? You're interpreting what the Founding Fathers
Well, they said it in the Federalist Papers, right? So it's not just me, but also in the Heller decision, in the 5-4 decision, that said that gun ownership was a right. This was a hotly debated thing.
But do you disagree? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Do you disagree with the idea of a federal registry like that?
Oh, without a doubt. The only reason you'd want to register the guns is if you want to confiscate them.
Well, or to make sure that people like officers of the law are protected and know what they're going into. A domestic...
Again, that's a good argument,
right?
To your credit. I will try to make a better argument where the problem of the government knowing where every gun is would then lead itself towards mass confiscation. And I would agree with you, a well-armed citizenry is the greatest protectorate of liberty and freedom in this country.
Even though the Army has things like drones and tanks and things like that outarm, citizens that have...
Yes and no. We've seen it in several instances where at least a citizen... That's a good argument, but I would say a little flawed. Where the citizens are able to protect themselves in some ways, it's a much harder population to control.
I understand, but so you think a federal registry would infringe on the rights?
Potentially. I think that there's no good argument, other than potential... I ascribe to the government bad motives and bad intentions when it wants to infringe more on these types of freedoms and liberties.
Well, I understand. I just personally don't see it as an infringement because, like we just said, and I think we agreed that owning a gun is a right. However, yes. I think it was responsibilities. But also I wanted to ask, is voting a right or is that a privilege?
Well, it is a right, and so felons can get their rights back, right? And so, but rights can be suspended or delayed. And we both agree with that. So, for example, somebody in prison doesn't get guns.
Right, no, of course.
Somebody in prison doesn't have the same free speech rights that you
might
have.
But what's the first thing that you have to do if you want to vote in this country? You have to register, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a federal registration to be able to vote in this country. So why not, and we can agree that, keeping safe and, keeping our elections to where people who shouldn't vote, aren't voting is, that's keeping America safe because we don't want people who
That's a fair
vote.
point. I would say there's something there's a technical difference between a voter registration roll and a gun registration
Right, guns
roll.
are much more dangerous.
Well, also, but guns in many different ways, they would go after the guns a lot more than, like, I don't know, the voter registration roll.
Well, how do we know, though?
My worldview comes out of one in the 20th century, where almost every totalitarian government went after the guns first. And the confiscation of guns then leads into the erosion of freedom and liberty.
Right, but wouldn't you say in the 20th century, as you just said, that the disparity between the technology that citizens had to protect themselves compared to what the military had, wouldn't you say that there was a much smaller disparity as opposed to what we see
Somewhat.
nowadays?
I think that's a fair point.
So,
I'm acknowledging that's a fair point.
okay.
But do you see my perspective as well?
No, I do
that,
understand.
That an armed citizenry, also it says shall not be infringed, so we have to kind of wrestle with those two things
right, but
simultaneously.
so if it's just a semantics argument, then to that point,
Well, it's not. I mean, semantics is meaning. That's literally what the word means. But
right, but
so,
you're saying because it says shall not be infringed, we can't do anything.
No,
But
no, I'm saying,
does that
though,
mean
that
voting rights can be
I'm
infringed?
saying
Because it doesn't say it cannot be infringed.
I'm saying I err on the side that more government regulation around guns means that they'll try to take good people's guns away, which then results in less global, or let's just say national, freedom and liberty.
What if getting the medicine you need didn't have to be so hard? No waiting weeks to see a doctor.
This is absolutely crazy. I'm watching this unfold. As of right now, it's being reported that Charlie Kirk was hosting an event at UVA, a university, and some lunatic may have taken his life. It's being reported that Charlie Kirk has just someone attempted on his life. His condition is currently unknown. People close to him have said that he was hit in the neck area, which obviously not good. Here we have shots fired at Charlie Kirk event in Utah Valley. University footage from the scene showed eventgoers screaming as shots ran out on Wednesday. People at the event took to social media to share details of the moment. Someone opened fire at the conservatives event as he concluded a Q&A session with students. Kirk published a post on X just minutes before reports of the incident. We are so back. Utah University is fired up and ready for the first stop of Back to the American Comeback Tour. Right now, Republican Senator Mike Lee has weighed in and said, I'm tracking the situation at Utah Valley University. Please join me in praying for Charlie Kirk as students gathered there. Right-wing pundit Candace Owens also reacted to the incident. She wrote, everyone stop what you're doing and pray for Charlie Kirk. Charlie has done amazing work with his TPUSA, his Turning Point USA event. We have video. Obviously, the incident is real. This is not a hoax. You see people running and screaming. I'm like desperately trying to find more information. This is reports indicate that Kirk was shot in the neck by an unidentified attacker. Here's the incident. He was hit. I have to edit that out. There is video right now that I'm seeing from the scene. It is very clearly Charlie Kirk, and he's very clearly hit in the neck, head and neck area. In a video of it, I'm not gonna play it. But I'm very clearly looking at Charlie Kirk. He's doing a Q&A, and he is shot in the head and chest area. It looks like from a long distance from a rifle.
All right, good, pull it. We are also not going to play extremely graphic footage, but we're going to talk about what happened. So I don't know if I mentioned it at the beginning of the show, if it was pre-show, but I was installing a toilet over in the powder room, caulking up the bottom. I was listening to InfoWars. There's no lights in there because I didn't put the light in the room yet. So I got a headlight on. I'm laying on my side, and I hear like Harrison Smith and these guys talking about it, and the first thing I said was, well, hopefully he was wearing a vest. Like I was hoping for the best. Hopefully he's just not dead, and it's recoverable. And then as I continued to listen and get up from that situation, yeah, it just got more terminal. And in after review, I don't see how he could have been in pain very long. So, um, where were you guys when you first heard the news?
Oh boy, I was probably getting ready to go to work here at my house, but I was just going through Twitter and I saw it. I think I actually probably saw actually Jeremy's post of the quartering, and then I just hopped on Twitter, and then I accidentally just scrolled past the graphic video, and I saw the close up of it, and my heart just sank. I was like, I just like I instantly thought, I don't know how anybody survives from that. And it's like if he survives, we have the best medical system in the world, but I it just didn't see anybody rushing, and it just seemed like it was just a no-go. And then I couldn't help but to scroll pretty much all day like a mindless idiot, hoping for more information. And kind of like exactly what I did during 9/11, where you're just scrolling for more information and you don't really get anything.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of alluded to the same situation. I mean, I was actually listening to the Jones Show as well, live on the air when it happened. Harrison was covering, and Alex rushed into the studio, and as it was happening, and like I said, I don't normally let that type of stuff in. I don't like to watch gore and stuff like that, but I was scrutinizing the footage that was coming out at the time just to really ascertain whether or not that was the type of injury that someone could potentially, survive. And when I first heard Charlie got shot, I was like, oh, probably got grazed or gunshots or, the typical fog of war within the first couple minutes. But then when you see the footage, especially that near front row cell phone footage, it's like, oh, that's game over at that point. So, obviously we were praying and just like keeping our hopes up. But I had my buddy here working with me, and we were both pretty disturbed just because, regardless of how you feel about Charlie, it's like I've been very critical of Charlie. I had memes that I was like making fun of him and stuff, and then there's things to critique about him and his position on certain things, about Israel and stuff. And I went back and deleted all that stuff because I'm like, I don't even want that energy on my like Telegram channel or my like don't want it, because it doesn't matter. I'm sure we'll get all into this tonight, but it doesn't matter what your position is. I would never wish that upon any of these leftist freaks out there. Nobody deserves that type of execution in front of your family, like period. So we disavow all that. But at the same time, it was just like, that was the feeling I was struggling with, was like, this changes everything. This really changes a lot of things, and really kind of surprised that it didn't kind of kick off something bigger. And who knows, maybe there will be something, but honestly, like I had a pit in my stomach thinking about it. And, I'm I'm not anywhere near a Charlie Kirk type persona, but I have a public persona. I talk about controversial things, some of the controversial things that he was beginning to stumble upon. And so that gives you a little pause. Not that I'm ever going to stop, not at all. But at the same time, it just is kind of an eerie feeling for sure.
Now, you guys have probably international listeners. I mean, OBDM has international listeners. And what I found to be interesting is that some of my listeners in Australia, they, one, not only are familiar with Charlie Kirk, but they felt emotionally impacted, so much so that they wanted to go and do something. Basically, they were saying, this is now, it's time. Now we got to do something. Now we have to. Now this is the motivating factor. And I said, do what? Don't do anything. Anything you do is going to be done out of emotion and reaction. It's not going to be thoughtful, and it's probably going to be counterproductive. But I expected some of that stuff, that instant reaction from people in America. I wasn't expecting it from people in Australia, but apparently like, it's almost like a worldwide civil war. How bizarre that sounds, but that's what it feels like at this point.
Well, I think Charlie was known and respected outside this country because if you've ever seen like the Cambridge Union
Yeah.
or any of the other debates he's done, a lot of the places like the UK and Australia experience a lot of the same problems that we have here in America. So it's not just like America's constitutional republic's a bad thing and these things are limited here. They have similar problems in those other two countries right now with immigration and self-defense rights and all sorts of things going on. I do want to say that after the InfoWars, because InfoWars stops like at 4 o'clock or whatever, um, I was surprised to see that Alex walked off the set and was just like, I'm going to pick up my dad, have fun. And then I didn't know that Harrison had pre-tweeted a couple weeks prior something relating to Charlie and him being scared for his life. So there was a dynamic going on there that I picked up on over the week. But my point was at 4 o'clock, I started watching Redacted. So I tuned into Clayton Morris and they start Redacted and they say Charlie is at the hospital. He is stabilized. He's still alive. And then it was shortly after that that my wife's like, no, he didn't survive. And I hadn't seen any of the video or anything at that point. So, yeah, that's tough. So Patrick Bet David was having a conference for his valuetainment group, I guess, out in Vegas. He had Tony Robbins on stage for 3 hours. During that 3-hour stint, he's sitting backstage with his family. He saw that Charlie Kirk had gotten shot. We're going to play the statement that he made when he went back on stage. And then we have a note from Tom McDonald to Charlie.
How many of you guys know what just happened the last hour and 15 minutes? Who has no clue what just happened the last hour and 15 minutes? Hour and 15 minutes, we've been going back and forth. Report just came 5 minutes ago. Charlie Kirk was shot and he's dead. Yes. When I'm coming on the stage, I was coming on the stage to start a prayer for him because it wasn't announced. Vinny comes up and tells me, Charlie's dead. Kelly comes and signals to me, Charlie's dead. We've had Charlie on the podcast. I think Charlie's a very important guy in America for our youth. It's weird, I mentioned his name yesterday. Do you remember? Yesterday I said Dylan was watching his debates the other day on his own. And a story like this takes place. I went back, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me for a story like this. Beautiful family. By the way, forget about political differences. Some of you guys may not like the guy. Some of you guys may like him. But an event like this, you look at the top 15 things that are trending right now on X. Look at them. The last thing we need is things like this to raise the temperature. Breaks my heart. Young man, 31 years old, family. And when you see events like this, you know what it does? Many people react in a place of fear. Security's in the back. Do you want to hit the stage? Of course I'm going to hit the stage. What do you mean? Dude, this is not how we roll. You think America accidentally became the greatest country in the world? You think this happened because we didn't have courage? You think this happened because we didn't have to fight? You think this happened because the leaders, the founding fathers were scared? No. We're the luckiest people alive. But in moments like this, we can either get our temperature to go high, lose our cool, react accordingly, or we can calm the nerves down, become examples and leaders. Simultaneously staying tough, calling out the truth, and being willing to fight for this guy who's been pouring into what he believes in. All Charlie did is he loved America. So if you don't mind, with your permission, I would like to bring Tom up to give a prayer before we finish this session. Is that okay with you?
Father God, we come to you at this hour and we ask for peace and we ask for your comfort, especially for the Charlie Kirk's family, his team at Turning Point USA. He speaks the truth, and he speaks the truth on the foundation of your scripture. And for that, he's been taken from us. But you are in control. You were in control yesterday, you're in control today, and Lord God, you are in control tomorrow. We don't understand the senseless violence when it happens, but we do know this. We must respond with peace and power. Let vengeance in the day of vengeance and consequence be yours, but it doesn't mean that we sit idle. And we just ask that you give us peace in this moment of grief, strength in the moment of response, and temperance in how we respond without diluting the power of the message and the freedoms that we want to protect and hold dear. We thank you for all that are here. We thank you for Charlie and the voice that he gave us. And the voice he gave us are words that we must remember and that will inspire us. Thank you for how he went into the battleground of the college campus where liberalism is poured out in indoctrination and sought to debate peacefully to bring sense and solution and understanding. Let us be that voice. Let us continue to carry it. I thank you, O Lord, for the love you put upon us. I thank you, O Lord, for being there. You are our God today, tomorrow, and forever, and we thank you. We ask that you to give us all peace at this moment and in our moment of grief. We ask you to give us strength for tomorrow and great strength to rise up. This is not a time to step back, but it's time to step forward. For what we are doing is too important to stop. And we praise you for all that have come here. We ask for safety for all that are here. We ask for safety that are all speaking in your name and in the name of conservative values across this land, across this earth, because we are not backing down, and we thank you. And right now we remember Charlie as we just sit for a moment. Oh, Father God, you tell us in Psalms 23 that as we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, we will fear no evil because you are with us, and that your rod and your staff will comfort us. We ask for that comfort now, and we put it all before you in the precious name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, as we say, amen.
Amen, amen. Thank you, Tom. Life is weird, man. I mean, it's like this event's been an example of being inside a tornado and chaos, and you're witnessing. You're like, for the rest of your life, you're gonna say, I remember an event I went to back in 2000. If I told you, you wouldn't believe it. Weirdest event I ever went to. But I think this event's gonna bring all of us closer, and we will remember this together for decades and decades and decades to come.
Shot down and he was barely 31. Another woke coward took a life with a gun. He left behind a wife and a daughter and a son. All he did was try to speak for all of us. And I'm so tired of the hatred and the narratives. The patriots ain't dangerous, woke people are the terrorists. They shot and killed the father, sent a message to Americans. They ain't gonna stop until they bury us. Dear Charlie, I don't know if you can see us now, but if heaven has a window, I sure hope you're looking down. Cause we ain't going quiet, we gon' scream your name loud. And you're gone, but I swear to God that we gon' make you proud. We ain't backing off or giving up, I'll preach what you taught me. They may have killed a soldier, but that man had an army. This is far more deep than some political parties. And you can't kill freedom, so this one is for Charlie. This ain't the America that all our parents love, but good men try to keep making it great. Pray that God will take care of us, the system is failing us. When good men die for the things that they say, and I can't just be quiet. So I gotta be brave, cause this is America. Lately it's scaring us, but one good man can change it all in a day. Killed in cold blood for having a discussion, and liberals are celebrating murder like it's justice. You didn't kill a villain or the evil that it comes with. You killed a father and a husband. And I'm so tired of the left and all the wokery. We can't get along if you just kill us when we don't agree. Sniper rifle fire from a liberal that no one sees. Scared I might be next to die when I'm just buying groceries. Charlie, we'll make sure your children know that defending all our freedom is why you aren't coming home. I hope heaven has a window you can watch your children grow and hear your message echo from below. And we ain't backing off or giving up, I'll preach what you taught me. They may have killed a soldier, but that man had an army. This is far more deep than some political parties. And you can't kill freedom, so this one is for Charlie. This ain't the America that all our parents love, but good men try to keep making it great. Pray that God will take care of us, the system is failing us, but good men die for the things that they say. And I can't just be quiet, so I gotta be brave, cause this is America. Lately it's scaring us, but one good man can change it all in a day.
All right, so that's Tough Block, and now we're into it. All right, so gentlemen, Charlie Kirk. Good guy, bad guy. I've heard he's a Nazi. I've heard he's a white supremacist. I've heard a bunch of things this week I'd never heard before. And before we get to the coverage of they, them, those, saying it in their own words and finding out who the perpetrator was and what the status is, how much had you heard on the left's side, like their narrative? They had a very strong narrative coming into this on who he was and why young people might get upset enough to take up arms.
Well, it's a really interesting phenomenon. The fact that a lot of the criticism, it's like, okay, like I didn't vote for Trump. I got big issues with Trump, but I dislike him. Like I have shirts in my t-shirt shop that's like a wanted poster with Trump's face on it that says wanted for vaccine genocide, right? So I'm in the camp where I criticize Trump for a lot of things that he does that I don't like. But it's funny because there's a whole segment of the population that also criticized Trump for things completely different. So we both dislike Trump for different reasons. And somehow, this and that. It's the same thing with Charlie. Like I've critiqued him in the past. I've made, shared memes that were probably not very tasteful about Charlie Kirk and in critique of his position specifically on Israel. And that's it. Okay. But there's a whole segment of the population that have been riled up by the media about his stances and views. And that's where I think there's so much of the issue is that the people get riled up and make judgments on these people. And that's the thing is like the left hates Trump. Most of the things that they hate Trump for aren't even true. Okay. These are just media spins that they get angry about, or they're like the kids in cages. Well, Obama had more kids in cages than Trump. It's like, that's a small example of the media inciting their anger for their own ends, but they aren't even accurate or true. And I would say a lot of the same stuff with Charlie as well, where their hatred of him is spun up through the media. So I put blame on them for that. But again, that's like the stochastic terrorism argument, and it's like you can't blame information for someone's choice of actions. But I just there's a conversation to be had there, and it's like we fight bad ideas with good ideas, and that's how it is. But I don't blame, or it's no mystery to me why a crazy leftist would get all upset with Charlie Kirk. And at the end of the day, I agree with Charlie Kirk on a lot, right? But I believe that there's a giant scheme to subvert America by a foreign country, and he was a big instrument of that. So that's a problem. But he was waking up to that, right? That's the other thing that's been uncovered, spotlighted this last couple weeks. But his position, his pro-life position, his position on faith, these are things that I align with as well. And so, I just applaud him for having the courage to confront all these all the leftists. I mean, it's good clickbait content, but there is a bigger mission there, and hopefully he was able to change some people's minds and hearts through his work. Absolutely.
Well, he was killed because people called him a Nazi, and people believe that he was a Nazi. And
Exactly. That's what I was trying to say.
So, I think we're at a place in this world where you can't fight bad ideas with good ideas. You have to fight bad ideas with worse ideas, and to exploit and to show how absurd their position is. So I did a calculation of how much of a Nazi was Charlie Kirk, taking into consideration like immigration, abortion, technology, like the economy, like 10 different factors that you could rate somebody on to see how Hitler they are. And obviously Hitler's 100%. Charlie Kirk, as it turns out, is only 36% Nazi. Donald Trump is 40%. Obama is 24%. But you pose this like, how much of a Nazi do you have to be in order to justify their death? That's a worse kind of question to ask somebody, and it really throws it back on them. You only kill 100% Nazi, or are you willing to kill somebody who's 36% Nazi? Honestly, it's an absurd question, but it throws it back at these people who want to call everyone a Nazi, not understand really what it means. And if they take a quiz like this, they would probably find out that they are 24% Nazi themselves. And then they would have a bit of a crisis and meltdown. They might forget about it and move on with their day. But that's where we're at. Everyone's a Nazi at this point.
Hold on. Is there like a website where we can find out how much of a Nazi we are?
Do we run Peter Thiel through there?
What's that? Yeah, I can calculate that right now. You want Peter Thiel? Sure. Yeah. I can put. So it's right now. I made a GPT to calculate this for mostly politicians, but I can have a Peter Thiel score for you in 5 seconds.
And then you got to do the Antichrist next. I want to point out in the past it became okay to punch a Nazi. Prior to that, it was not okay to walk up and punch a person. But all of a sudden, at a certain point, like 15 years ago, it became okay to punch a Nazi. And then the word Nazi started getting used, like the word anti-Semitism. They had a pretty symmetrical use pattern, very greatly increased recently. And then if Charlie Kirk's a Nazi, I was not aware that he supported socialism. Wouldn't he have that more in common with the other side? They support socialism too. They just like international globalist socialism. I don't think they even understand the words they're using, and that's part of it. They don't understand National Socialism was not Americanism at all. It was funded by some Wall Street bankers, though. You might get into that, or City of London bankers. Might want to check out the Nazis. They might have survived World War II. They might still be influencing things. You might want to care about that, and they're not the people wearing red MAGA hats, that's for sure. There are Nazis out there. They never got defeated. They never got brought to trial. They killed Kennedy. Like, there's a whole chain of abuses that goes on out there to this day. And Charlie might have been getting wise up to that. And to the point Scott was making, like, I would have disagreed vehemently with Charlie on the concept of Israel-Palestine. However, I've got the evidence and the artifacts, and he's a person who would sit down, listen, and look at those things and maybe like change his mind over time. He never got to that point, but he was getting close to the point where he was questioning. He had turned down some Bibi money. He had turned down a trip that Bibi offered to go to Israel recently. There's a whole bunch of other things that lends credence to some other people's theory that Israel might have benefited from the death of Charlie Kirk this past week, or is at least trying really, really hard to benefit from it posthumously. So we'll get into that information later. But before we get into, Crowder's going to announce the ATF information that he got from the whistleblower. And then we've got a short Paul Joseph Watson, some truths about the accused shooter. And then we'll get into footage later to see if we see him anywhere with a rifle resembling a 41-inch 30-06. So without further ado, gentlemen, let's go to the next block. This is coming from Louder with Crowder, exclusive information on Charlie Kirk assassin. This broke before any other news broke officially, and this is unofficial news coming from a whistleblower that provided it to the Crowder Tips. Let's check it out.
Hey, not glad at all to be with you under these circumstances. I don't think anyone is. There's no good way to cover this. There's no good way to handle this. And I think we have to be here anyway. And this is heartbreaking for everyone. I'm going to try and find the right words here today. Here's what I ask for. I ask for grace all around, because emotions are high for everyone and people sometimes are misinterpreted. Let's not try and score any points. There are children who don't have a father. The Kirk family who's affected forever. It's not a game. The left is not playing games, and neither should you. And right now, we're very rare, for a very rare occasion, we're streaming live wide to YouTube, and this is going to be very short-lived. If you are on YouTube, the whole reason for Rumble is days like today. Head on over, because the kinds of things that I'm going to be saying probably get the channel nuked on YouTube. And let me be really clear here. I am not advocating, this is an inflection point, I am not advocating for violence, wanton violence against the left. I'm not advocating for a civil war. I'm not advocating for anything that should be a violation of big tech's policy that forbids you from fighting back, but it's going to get really fucking close. That's where I am. I hope I've made myself clear. Let me just start with this. This morning, and you've seen this now, our undercover team who did some work here, the best in the world, I'll just say Jay, codename Jay, who got this morning was a leak from someone who was a longtime viewer of the show and works under the DOJ. And so we released this, and now the media, the rest of the media is confirming it. There was a briefing confirming it. I want to read this to you because there's a lot of misinformation going around. On September 10th, 2025, this comes from our source, at approximately 12:24 p.m., conservative political influencer Charlie Kirk was shot and killed at the Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah. Let me make sure I get, okay. This is the stuff that you know. Mr. Kirk was, multiple SLC 1 and 3 agents responded immediately. The suspect fired one shot from an elevated position on a rooftop in an adjacent building on the campus, and surveillance video shows the suspect jumping off and fleeing the area on foot. ATF and other law enforcement located an older model imported Mauser 30-06 caliber bolt-action rifle wrapped in a towel in a wooded area near the campus. The location of the firearm appears to match the suspect's route of travel. The spent cartridge was still chambered in addition to 3 unspent rounds at the top-fed magazine. All cartridges have engraved wording on them, expressing transgender and anti-fascist ideology. An emergency trace has been submitted. An ATF SLC is working leads generated by the trace. The firearm and ammunition have been taken by the FBI, DNA analysis, and fingerprint impressions. Upon completion of forensics, the firearm will be disassembled for additional importer information. Multiple people of interest have having contacted or detained because of eyewitnesses' testimony and review of video footage. The primary suspect is yet to be identified. ATF is assisting the investigation with multiple other, you know the rest. Engraved with trans and anti-fascist, Antifa ideology. I know yesterday we all thought it, we all prayed and hoped. Evil, senseless, enabled and abetted. People say, who could have seen this coming? Teacher? Everyone? Everyone was paying attention. Before we open this in prayer, I want to thank the undercover unit who did this, and I hope they catch the bastard, and I hope it hurts. I hope it hurts. I hope it's unpleasant. Because Charlie Kirk and his family did not deserve at all what he got. But whoever this person is deserves it to hurt. And whoever pops their head up and even attempts any act of violence, not even taking a shot. I'm not advocating that you take violence into your own hands. Let me be clear. I am advocating now, going forward, hair-trigger defense. Because we, and Charlie that day, make no mistake, was hunted. We are being hunted. This is terrorism. And I don't want to hear about both sides. Charlie Kirk's death was the direct result of leftist terrorism in America. Let me make that case. There are only a couple of people who've been in that chair, surrounded on campus. I know what it's like. Had the assaults come. I'm just speaking from experience. I've lived that nightmare over 100 times in my life. Happens after the first 1, 2, or 3 death threats or assaults that Charlie had to live through too. And he had to live through that while the media that now pretends like they had respect for him called him a Nazi. And now they want to say, hey, let's cool temperatures. Hey, let's simmer this down. Okay? I will when you bring Charlie back. I will when you unpropagandize every single person who you made to believe that Charlie and all of us are Nazis and committing a genocide and racist and sexist. Let me ask you this. If a real Nazi, if a real genocidal Hitler was sitting there out in the open, if you believed it, if you really believed it, you thought that person was going to kill 6 million Jews, would you take the shot? Now add mental illness and fucking hormones. Yeah, we'll put that genie back in the bottle. You first. Why is it we're always asked? Why is it incumbent upon us to cool temperatures, and we're the only ones getting shot, getting hit with bike locks, getting rocks in the head, getting ice picks? You've lived through it with me. It's terrorism. You know what these people want? Charlie Kirk's death is the result of leftist terrorism in America because they made this really clear. Hey.
Just when you thought they couldn't get more depraved, they somehow managed to get more depraved. First, they celebrated Charlie Kirk's murder.
Charlie Kirk just got shot.
Praised his killer. Justified his murder by saying he probably deserved it.
I will not ever feel bad when bad people get what the fuck they deserve.
Continued to smear him as an extremist after he was murdered. But apparently that wasn't enough. Now they've launched a mammoth misinformation campaign, asserting that Kirk's killer was actually a Trump-supporting Christian conservative. Because that makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Tyler Robinson, massive conservative, staunch Republican, big Trump supporter, decides to publicly assassinate Charlie Kirk, probably the most prominent Trump supporter in America, the man who perhaps over any other was instrumental in getting Trump re-elected. It's so patently fucking ridiculous. You don't think they'd have the brazen temerity to even try it. Oh, but they are. Told you all it was a Trump supporter. Straight cis white guy with conservative gun-loving parents. So Charlie Kirk's killer was a straight white cis Christian male from a Republican family? Wow! Charlie Kirk was killed by Tyler Robinson, a white Christian conservative male. Because nothing screams I'm a Christian conservative Republican Trump supporter than literally engraving Antifa slogans on your bullets.
I think the clearest one that says catch fascist, there's not, and by the way, that's like catch like a ball, catch this. I think that speaks for itself.
Oh, but there's no theme to the bullet casings.
That there is no really chronic theme.
A transgender furry meme. Hey Bella Ciao, a World War II anti-fascist song beloved by Antifa. There's no theme there though, the motive remains a total mystery. The bullet, hey fascist, catch. The left, this guy was clearly MAGA. MAGA may have been quick to point fingers at the left for Charlie Kirk's death, but Tyler Robinson's grandma grandmother insists that they came from a family of Trump supporters. Tyler Robinson's parents, Matt Robinson and Amber Jones Robinson, are both confirmed to be registered Republicans. Oh, you mean the ones who literally turned him into the authorities? The ones who said he was an extreme leftist who vented his hatred towards conservatives and Kirk at a recent family dinner. Robinson's high school friend said he was a leftist. Pretty left on everything, and had recently become more extremist in his leftist views. Another school friend said he was a weird Reddit kid. Reddit being a hysterically far-left forum.
I went to school with this Tyler Robinson kid. I'll show y'all. That's him right there. Tyler Robinson. And the best way I could describe him is just like a Reddit kid.
So who killed Charlie Kirk? A fellow conservative, obviously. They dug up a political donation to the Trump campaign by a totally different dude who happened to share the same name as the killer, then claimed it was the killer. Look, the shooter supported Trump. Now, you just doxed some poor innocent guy, putting his life in danger to bolster a completely bogus narrative. Whoops, here's the correction. The correction gets seen by hardly anyone, while the original fake post got tens of millions of views. Total and utter scumbags. I just discovered something wild about stem cells. Stem cells are like tiny repair crews in your body that go out and fix anything that needs.
In America, where you could get away with more, that you gotta go to Mexico.
To their profits. The FDA has blocked these treatments. People are forced to go overseas, where just one placenta stem cell injection can cost you $50K. But here's what most people don't.
If it's in your liver, they'll fix it. If it's in your skin, they'll fix it.
That's right, dark chocolate. Flavanol costume for Halloween in 2017. Must mean he supported Trump. Yeah, he's literally on top of Trump like he's a hunting trophy. And his brother's dressed as a Trump hunter with a target on Trump's face. They're even photoshopping the killer wearing a Trump t-shirt and passing it off as a real image. They're even now claiming Robinson was a groiper. Oh yes, groipers. Not the biggest fans of Jews, are they? So they totally use the word fascist, literally engrave it on the bullet as an insult, wouldn't they? Oh, that makes perfect sense. They'll knowingly perpetuate every ghoulish lie under the sun to gaslight the less well-informed into believing the absolute opposite of reality, to cover up the fact that the killer was manifestly, provably a demented leftist, radicalized by their decade-long rhetorical campaign of dehumanizing everyone who doesn't share their every opinion as a fascist Nazi.
Let me ask you tonight, do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do.
This is what kicking the shit out of fascism looks like.
Try to prevent the spread of the lawlessness and the fascist chaos that's been unleashed against us.
So when we say Donald Trump is a fascist, fascism, a huge component of fascism, is uniting racism, bigotry, a form of racist nationalism.
We are now living in a fascist dictatorship.
We are worried about potential rise of fascism in this country. We're worried about our democracy falling to an authoritarian and potentially fascist form of government.
Not only to roll over to Donald Trump's will, but to roll over our democracy and allow him to take over this country as a fascist dictator.
When fascism isn't just coming, it's already here.
The former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley, said, "No one has ever been more dangerous to this country than Donald Trump, and he is a fascist to his core."
There are countless people who knew Charlie better than I did, whose tributes are worth way more. Suffice to say, I went to dinner with him twice, once in London and once in DC at CPAC. And my memory of Charlie is of a warm, kind, graceful, charming man. A glimpse of his character reflected by the first message he ever sent to me, simply offering his help and support in any way possible. As a father of a boy who's a similar age to Charlie and his wife's son, it tears me apart inside every time I think of the terror and the trauma that's being inflicted on his children. This depraved sickness of inciting, justifying, and celebrating political violence, violence of any kind, simply because you disagree with the sounds coming out of someone's mouth, must be completely eradicated from society if we're to maintain any kind of humanity as a species, and avoid a descent into animalistic barbarism that results in nothing less than rampant torment, suffering, and evil. Rest in peace, Charlie.
Only in America is it possible to say, you know what, I don't like the way the country is going, and to do something about it. Take that risk. Take that leap of faith. Stay involved. Trust God and act obediently. Romans 12:2 verse. That God will use all things for good for those who love him. It's bigger than you. I want you to remember that. It is bigger than you. It's bigger than me. You aren't here to make somebody else's life better, the pursuit of liberty and freedom.
You know what gives me strength? The hundreds of thousands of you that say, Charlie, keep going.
1 Corinthians 5 and 15. So that's all pretty amazing evidence, not just intra-biblical evidence, but extra-biblical evidence that Jesus Christ was a real person. He lived a perfect life. He was crucified, died, and rose on the third day, and he is Lord and God of all.
All right, gents. Another tough block. The rumors that were supported by Crowder's broadcast about the ATF, those do have a lot more evidence to them over the past several days. Whereas I know that a lot of people, they were out there trying to blame just the right because he came from a Republican family. And that was a type of gaslighting that was called out by many, many media producers this past week. Did you guys encounter the gaslighting and did you perceive it? Do you maybe have a counterintuitive take on it? What do you guys think?
I still encounter it every day. It's nothing but gaslit stuff out there. Yeah, it's still happening. Like I'm on X, and it's so with the new information from the FBI with this young man's relationship with a I guess alleged trans furry person and his network of trans people. The narrative has shifted to look at all the bad stuff that the right has said in the past. And there's just they're dredging that up as to counterbalance what the narrative is. If this is the true narrative, I don't know. The FBI is telling us, do we believe it? I don't know, but that's the story that they're currently giving us. And just for the record, because you asked, Peter Thiel is 28% Hitler. Xi Jinping is 78% Hitler. How about that? So he's
doing a really good job there.
Yeah, he's doing big.
Well, did you do Netanyahu?
I'll do him next.
Let's do some Netanyahu, dude. I
will.
know how much of a Nazi that guy is, dude.
And I did want to set real quick the context. Right before, this is alleged. I have not fact checked this, but this is alleged. Right before Charlie Kirk's assassination, Kash Patel fired the head of the FBI's Salt Lake City field office in Utah. Former agents called her absolutely the best in the Bureau, a legendary case agent involved in the biggest national security cases of the last 2 decades. In her final warning, she said, what we need here in Utah is more resources, more agents, more professional staff, more intel analysts. Guess who would have been leading the investigation into Charlie Kirk's assassin? And then there's Kash with the governor. So I don't know what that all means yet, but we were talking about that before the show, and I had that tab open. Also, this, where's the clear headline shot? This is pertaining to his fourth shell, and this is a screenshot. I do have that clip coming up later, but not the Bella Ciao shell, but it's the last one. If you read this, you're gay, LMAFO. That pertains to an online gaming group. And so there does seem to be other people that were talking with him about this. And a lot of internet sleuths over the past week have resolved a lot of the social media background of this character. But Scott, I feel like I cut you off, so go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just, over here agreeing with you and pondering the meaning of that. So I'm excited to get into that clip. But I will say some stuff around the whole narrative thing. So obviously there's a big push to paint this guy as a leftist trans activist and all that. And then I could see some writing on the walls like immediately. And it was really interesting. And on my Telegram channel, I posted like within an hour of it happening. I'm like, don't be surprised if they pin this on some groyper. And that's basically my take on it, because I'd seen that there was an article that came out the night before in the New York Times about Nick Fuentes, the head groyper guy. And I read the article, and it was it wasn't like a hit piece. He was being interviewed for the article. You could tell there was a camera person and a journalist in his studio. The photo was from inside his studio, so he was involved in that article. And although it was disparaging towards him and painted him in a certain light, it was a fair portrayal, I would say, of him. But also, it really set up within the article that he is the enemy of Charlie Kirk. That was really a point that was made in the article, is that Nick Fuentes is an enemy of Charlie Kirk. So when I just read that the night before, and then I saw obviously what happened with Charlie, and my immediate instinct was, well, of course they're going to try to pin this on Fuentes and the Groypers and make it to further demonize the far right, and so, and then I think it was around Friday that narrative started to bubble up. But regardless of whether or not, like, I just did a search.
Yeah, Kim Everson talked about it on Friday.
Okay, yeah.
But since then, evidence has evolved that shows it's probably not a Groyper.
Exactly.
From my understanding of what a Groyper is and what was going on. Yeah.
Exactly. But it's interesting, though, because if you search Charlie Kirk shooter Groyper, there's so many articles, Forbes, Time Magazine, Newsweek, Yahoo News. Now the mainstream media is they're not necessarily saying that the shooter is a Groyper, but now it's just this massive coverage. What is a Groyper? Like this Forbes magazine headline, what is a Groyper? Newsweek, what is a Groyper? What do you need to know about Nick Fuentes' alt-right movement? So now it's the percolation of that whole demonization of the far right, piggybacking off of this, regardless of whether or not it turns out this guy had any affiliation with them or not. So now there's this, again, just a demonization campaign. And it's like, it's interesting. It's interesting to watch. And as we know with this administration, they're deporting what they call anti-Semites and stuff. And so it's an interesting microcosm that's developing here for sure.
It is their desired perfect storm. Did either of you guys see? I didn't see the Charlie Kirk South Park episode that they did like a month ago.
I didn't know that there was, man. Like, I've been watching this current season because I've been getting a kick out of the Trump. Like, they brought back for
the new owners of South Park's owned by new owners, and they were basically like, just talk about Trump every episode, and they have been, right. So that's all I've gleaned.
Well, one of the funniest, well, they haven't been that good. Like, I'm a I like South Park, right? They kind of sold out during the COVID era, and I've critiqued them for that. But, this new season, like the first episode where they really went out the gate hard, making fun of Trump, I thought it was funny because Trump had just settled a lawsuit with Paramount, right? And so the theme of the episode was that South Park was trying to poke so hard at Trump that he would get them to sue Paramount again. And the whole episode was like, you guys shut up. We can't be doing that, dude. Paramount. You know what I mean? So that was kind of a funny dimension to the episode. I got a kick out of that. But it's kind of just not. And then, of course, for all the old head South Park people, right? They brought back the Saddam Hussein character as Trump, with the bouncing heads, like, hey, guy, with Satan. So now he's like lovers with Satan. It's like they brought the whole Saddam Hussein theme back with Trump, which is pretty funny. But I did not catch that they did, but it's interesting that if they did this last week, come out with an episode that involved Charlie Kirk, that was the day.
No, it was like a month ago. No, it was like a month ago. Yeah, and Charlie owned it. Like he changed his profile picture, like to Cartman. Like I remember seeing news about it back then. I was like, okay, whatever.
You know what? I did see that episode. Okay,
there you go.
That's right. So I thought it was like it came out this week.
No.
Did the assassination? I'm like,
they took it down this week.
Pretty hardcore. That's pretty hardcore.
That's the news.
Oh, okay.
Now
I'll get ahead of myself.
What do you think? Since you saw it, what do you think Comedy Central's intention was in putting Charlie Kirk in the spotlight like that?
I thought that was kind of a funny episode. And it was, I don't think that they were being slanderous towards Charlie Kirk. It was like, what they were saying is that I think the critique or the angle that they were taking was that it's all these far right people that are kind of becoming the new popular media. You know what I mean? And Cartman, as diabolical as he is, he's like, he wants to get in on all that action. So he goes out and tries to be the most right-wing podcaster. And then his buddy, I can't remember which character it was, but like Butters or something, like starts a podcast and gets really famous for being like, talking about the Jews and stuff. And Cartman's like, what? That's my thing. You know what I mean? And so they just did the Charlie Kirk thing and made him kind of like Charlie Kirk. And some people say, hey, it was a Fuentes impression. So, but ultimately it was Kirk. But it's just kind of funny how it's like the far right wing casters are kind of taking over the scene a little bit.
From my understanding, they made a parody of Charlie Kirk using Cartman, right?
Yeah.
I don't watch much South Park, but I do own an internet browser, and I typed in South Park Cartman Hitler, and apparently, they've used him as a frontispiece to hold Hitler iconography and swastikas, type things in the past too. So I'm just saying that's interesting. I can't make any judgments. I didn't even see the episode, but I just, I don't see Cartman as the most favorable character to be parodied on. I don't know. Anyway, maybe they weren't trying to say that he's like that. But the gunman somehow got that idea.
It is weird, though. He is the most popular character, though.
Yeah,
like Cartman is the most popular character.
Yeah.
Well, and then in recent episodes they were making fun of JD Vance too, and the little mini me JD Vance guy is pretty hilarious too. And JD Vance owned it too. He's like, "Bro, I made it. I made it onto South Park," and so he was getting owned by South Park. So it's like to me, South Park is like it's kind of like a safe space where everybody, like, if you get made fun of on South Park, like
you're iconic at that point. You cross genres.
It's like for some people being on The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Right. Back in the day. All right. So the New York Post, Charlie Kirk, South Park episode Under Fire. We'll learn a little bit about that. Also, New York Post. Sickos cheer Charlie Kirk's death following horrific assassination. Just playing it into the record. And then Mark Dice will come in. He's going to sweep it out. Quote, this is his title. These leftists should horrify every American, and something must be. And then it has an ellipses. That's the 3 dots, because they don't give enough characters here. It cuts off the title. And then, so we're going to pebble skip. We're not getting to any of these whole videos, but you can go to grandtheftworld.com and you can see the video in its entirety now that you know it's there and why you might want to check it out. The last clip is from the body language guy. There are evil ones among us who want us dead. So this is basically the montage of people saying stupid shit about Charlie Kirk's death, disrespectful, ignorant people. Just to let people in the future know, like, this was going on this week during proximal to this assassination that we're talking about very seriously tonight. You're going to see some people who are celebrating. And it's not just the guy who jumps up and says USA, USA when everyone else ducks down when Charlie gets shot. We'll also get to that clip later. But let's get a move on and ride. Let's go to New York Post and learn more about Cartman and Charlie Kirk.
If anyone around here is going to be a master debater, it's me. So let's go. Who wants to debate the master debater? Let's go. You right there.
That's the stupidest haircut I've ever seen.
You are wrong. Leviticus 3:17 says it shall be a perpetual statute for your generations throughout all your dwellings. So you can shut up, baby. You just hate America and you love abortions.
After Charlie Kirk was fatally gunned down while speaking at a college event yesterday, some MAGA supporters are pointing the finger at South Park creators Trey Parker and Matt Stone, alleging they helped fuel the hatred that led to the conservative influencer's assassination as a result of one of the show's recent episodes. The second episode of season 27, titled Gotta Nut, originally aired August 6 and immediately drew attention for lampooning Kirk's college speaking style. In the episode, one of the show's iconic characters, Eric Cartman, parodied Kirk, adopting his mannerisms for a satirical college debate podcast while sporting his iconic hairstyle and look. The lampoon climaxed with Cartman receiving the Charlie Kirk Award for Young Master Debaters. Days after the episode aired, Kirk himself laughed off the mockery.
Okay, everybody, the South Park episode just dropped, and honestly, it is hilarious. I mean, part of it is kind of like whatever, typical humor, but it was hilarious.
Kirk even told Fox News at the time he had grown up watching South Park and considered the parody part of being in the public arena. But after his death, the satire has become a flashpoint, as MAGA conservatives online have alleged Parker and Stone fueled a fire that contributed to Kirk's death. One ex-user posted, "South Park certainly fermented the hatred necessary to get Kirk assassinated." Another outright fumed, "Trey Parker and Matt Stone are responsible for this." And a Turning Point USA staffer posted on Telegram, "Comedy has consequences. Charlie was targeted in the culture before he was targeted in real life." A petition has even started racking up signatures demanding the network apologize for airing the parody, and has already gotten more than 100,000 signatures in its first day. Comedy Central quietly removed the rerun of the episode Gotta Nut from its cable lineup just hours after Kirk's death. The Paramount Skydance-owned network slotted in episode 1 from the same season instead. The network did not issue a public statement, but confirmed to industry outlets that the episode was temporarily pulled from its cable rotation. However, it remains available to stream on Paramount Plus with a subscription.
If anyone around
Influential conservative activist Charlie Kirk was assassinated during a campus speaking event in Utah. President Trump announced Kirk's death in a post on Truth Social, writing, "The great and even legendary Charlie Kirk is dead. No one understood or had the heart of the youth in the United States of America better than Charlie. He was loved and admired by all, especially me, and now he is no longer with us. Melania and my sympathies go out to his beautiful wife, Erica, and family. Charlie, we love you." While many social media users expressed their heartbreak and horror at Kirk's passing, thousands of sick users also flooded social media to celebrate the passing of the co-founder of Turning Point USA. Disturbing reactions ranged from mocking memes to outright cheering.
Clap if you care. All right, let's move on.
One user shared a video of herself dancing with a caption that read, "Charlie Kirk was just shot in the neck. This is cause for celebration." Others have shared images showing party balloons and memes with phrases like, "Rest in piss." The popular X account, Libs of TikTok, posted a disturbing compilation of people openly mocking Kirk's death. The post called out the deranged leftists as pure evil. Kirk was a father of two who boasted millions of followers and billions of views for videos in which he would engage in fiery debates with students on college campuses.
Speech is not a left-wing value. And they do not believe in freedom of speech. They believe in totalitarian control. There are exceptions to that. So if they have a problem, I think this is one of the best ways, not the best way. I literally could not be more open to disagreement. I say if you disagree, you go to the front of the line.
Yesterday, this moron tweeted to me in response to my suggestion that college campuses across the country name a building after Charlie Kirk, like Charlie Kirk Halls. It's common to have buildings named after famous alumni or other famous individuals as a permanent symbolic reference and reminder to what he stood for and what he sacrificed for students in future generations, saying that was unlikely since Charlie Kirk matters to basically no one other than radical or crazy radical right-wing nutcases. Well, that's interesting, sir, because this is how Thursday Night Football started yesterday.
All right, moments ago inside the stadium, the Packers and the NFL observed a silent reflection following yesterday's events.
The National Football League asks that you please join us in a moment of silent reflection following the murder of Charlie Kirk. The NFL condemns all violence in our communities. It will take all of us to stop hate. Thank you.
And this is how Stephen Colbert opened his show Wednesday night, just hours after what happened.
Good evening, everybody. After our scripts for tonight's show were finished this afternoon, we here at The Late Show learned that Charlie Kirk, a prominent right-wing activist, was killed at a speaking engagement in Utah.
During a debate, because the left kept losing the debates against him, and so then one of the unhinged lunatics carried out the wishes of the Democrat Party and the liberal media industrial complex and silenced him, obviously only amplifying his message 1,000-fold. But continue.
Condolences go out to his family and all of his loved ones. I'm old enough to personally remember the political violence of the 1960s. And I hope it is obvious to everyone in America that political violence does not solve any of our political differences. Political violence only leads to more political violence. And I pray with all my heart that this is the aberrant action of a madman and not a sign of things to come. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the show that we had prepared for you.
This might be somewhat self-serving because many on the left who have been relentlessly engaging in violent propaganda against us openly, I'm not saying Stephen Colbert was doing this, but we've all seen the compilations openly calling for and endorsing violence against President Trump and against us, are starting to realize that their dark fantasy isn't all that they hoped that it may be. Now worried that someone may want to seek revenge and do something similar to one of them. Obviously, since we're normal Americans, we don't want that. We've been denouncing the violence coming from the mainstream media and the Marxist Democrats for years. But that is what I think is behind a lot of those on the left calling for things to tone down. New footage has emerged of the shooter fleeing the scene. They're running on the top of the roof to escape, scaling down and then dropping off of the roof. Also, footage has emerged showing him approaching the school, and he had the gun stuffed down the leg of his pants. And that's why he's walking funny here. The barrel is up his back, and he has his backpack on to try to disguise it. And they've got some fairly clean footage of him now on the campus. They've traced his steps, and this is the key person of interest. The FBI has put out a $100,000 reward for anybody who leads them to his arrest. And by now, I wouldn't be surprised if they know who he is and are in the process of trying to track him down. The student who was asking Charlie the question when he was shot, which was a question about gun violence, posted this video realizing that he is a moron.
And people have obviously pointed to the irony that the point that I was trying to make is how peaceful the left was.
Well, obviously, kid, you were wrong. That's okay. We were all young and dumb at one time. So this is your wake-up call. Because when liberals are posting illustrations like this, celebrating Charlie's assassination on other campuses across the country, you should know that your side is insane. This photo is going around, but it may be a deep fake or it may be extremely old because just a brief search doesn't pull up any news articles about it, showing what looks to be graffiti on a sign outside of Seattle Central College. If this was real, I would assume that it would be making headlines. It also looks like this was taken in the fall, still a little bit too early in September, but that just shows how dangerous these deepfakes are getting. Thousands, perhaps tens of thousands of people, particularly on TikTok, are posting videos. I showed some of them yesterday, celebrating Charlie's assassination. Many of them are teachers. I saw one, maybe I'll show it in a little bit, of someone in the U.S. military in his uniform celebrating it. And several of them have already been identified and fired. And there are teams of people out there tracking them down and alerting their place of employment and their colleges about what it is that they're saying. And I fully endorse and encourage that because that is not cancel culture. These are people who you can't trust to be your coworkers. These are people who would poison your coffee if they could get away with it. These are people who would not alert you to a danger on a work site, on a job site, because they hate you, hoping that you would get hurt or worse. These people are not Americans. These people are dangerous. Blue Sky, which is this leftist alternative to Twitter, where all the loser liberals flooded to when Elon bought Twitter, claiming that, it's not safe for them anymore. It's too much hate speech over there, have been flooding Blue Sky with celebrations and encouragement of more violence. And so then Blue Sky had to officially warn the users, hey, by the way, that's against our terms of service, liberals. People like this who need to be identified and dealt with immediately. Now, I doubt that this is Vic.Melter. That's just the person who recorded this at this event. I think this is actually like a vigil for Charlie Kirk, so don't mix up this TikTok handle with this person. But this individual needs to be identified and brought to justice soon.
We got Charlie and the neck. We got Charlie and the neck.
These people are dangerous. These people are encouraging and inciting more violence and should be arrested. Of course, many of them, like the pundits on CNN and MSNBC and many Democrats in Congress, are blaming Charlie for this. He brought it on himself.
I've been studying figures like Charlie Kirk and his Turning Point US.
This guy is from Veterans Fighting Fascism, which I'm sure is a gay veterans group.
And the effect that he has had on our country over the last 10 years. I am not excusing or condoning what happened to Charlie Kirk on that stage. I'm certainly not celebrating it. But as someone who has studied him and extremist movements for years, I am saying that he made the bed that he's now laying in.
By peacefully debating people, by going to what were supposed to be the bastions of free speech and encouraging people to come and challenge his ideas. Yeah, he brought it on himself.
I would almost guarantee that this is the kind of woman that this veteran fighting fascism is into. Let's listen to him.
The sympathy for Charlie Kirk is weird. There seems to be this weird emphasis on taking the moral high ground and that you are somehow a better person if you're like, I feel bad for his family. This is the world he wanted and the world he was building. This is a white supremacist who wanted both of us dead. He was shot in the middle of saying something transphobic about trans people.
No, he was actually saying that you tend to be violent because you're disturbed in numerous different ways, which you just confirmed to us, sir. And just a heads up, I'm not going to bleep these. Some of these may have swearing in them. Usually I run a very family-friendly show, but I don't have the time to go in and edit these. And I think people should hear just how deranged these people are. And so this guy just posted this on his TikTok account with his name, Scott Coplin. Well, probably has went private by now or deleted his account, hoping not to face the repercussions that he deserves for saying this.
Where the fuck was this guy last summer, huh? We got
referring to Butler and the assassination attempt against President Trump.
An ear hole in our greatest time of need, and this motherfucker's over here breaking necks from 200 yards away. What the fuck? Couldn't have picked a better target? Charlie Kirk? Really? Okay. Rest in piss, I guess.
Wishing that this guy would have obviously done that to President Trump. Well, I think your career from now on is going to be piss, sir. And then there's this guy who was actually at the event, appearing to turn to the shooter and cheer and celebrate. And then someone purporting to be him posted something on social media claiming he was trying to distract the shooter, which doesn't make any sense at all, combined with the look of joy on his face.
Well, I just saw the video of Charlie Kirk getting his box boomed. I mean, boomed, bitch, like gone.
You can tell that this is a member of the LGBT community by the septum ring, and he just has that feminine look to him. Been chemically poisoned by the atrazine. And I don't need to translate this N-word ghetto speak to you, right? We all understand what he's talking about. Boomed, his boxy. They try to use these certain keywords that the algorithm on TikTok won't pick up. And so they don't want to say exactly what they're talking about to avoid the videos getting flagged for violent content. That's why they all speak in these keywords.
Save your sympathy for the kids who are getting bombed in Palestine. Save your sympathy for the people who are getting thrown in the concentration camps right now. Save
She's talking about people who are being deported, the criminal illegal alien invaders.
your fucking sympathy for the people getting deported right now for no reason.
No reason.
Save your sympathy for those people and not an evil man who has done nothing but harm other people and be a Nazi.
See, they bleep that out because Nazi will trigger the algorithm. It'll be detected and flagged, so they call it Yahtzee. The kids got all these little tricks, but obviously another dysgenic mutant signaling to others with her fluorescent hair and nose ring. And because normal people are outraged at what these animals are celebrating and encouraging and doing their best to identify them and report them to their place of employment, giving the left a taste of their own medicine. But again, this is not cancel culture. This truly is consequence culture because these people are dangerous and deserve to be locked up in mental institutions. Places like Rolling Stone magazine are upset about it, saying the MAGA right says that Charlie Kirk is a martyr for freedom of expression, but still want people to lose their jobs for criticizing his rhetoric. That's all they're doing is criticizing his rhetoric. No, they're celebrating his murder and wanting more. A tiger doesn't change its stripes, and even though Jim Acosta has been fired from the Clown News Network, he is still the same. Listen to this.
Yeah, I mean, there's exploitation going on of his death, and it's happening on the right, and it's absolutely disgraceful, and it's sending us down a course where more people are probably going to get hurt. And I mean, that to me that's where I kind of held my breath yesterday, is that
because you don't care, you don't want people to know, you were hoping that this was just going to be a little blip on the radar, not that it would be 24/7 news coverage eclipsing virtually all of the September 11th anniversary coverage yesterday.
You know, I think we're now in a moment, and there's not a whole lot you and I can do about this, Mike. You and I can talk.
Well, actually, Jim, it's people like you who were part of the problem, which helped incite this. Here's a diversity hire on CBS's morning show, blaming, of course, Republicans.
And as Tony mentioned, not everyone took to his words or his rhetoric. You know, at times, they were offensive to specific communities. But with that said...
Oh, no, specific communities. We've been talking about the trans community. You know what? Charlie Kirk was actually pretty moderate. And if people didn't like what he was having to say, the movement is now taking a sharp right turn. So get ready.
This is not the time to focus on that. We are focused on this tragedy. Speaking of this tragedy, is this a moment for your party to reflect on?
For your party. He's talking to Kevin McCarthy, the former Speaker of the House. This is a time for your party to reflect on the rhetoric that you've been engaged in.
Political violence? Is it a moment for us to think about the responsibility of our political leaders and their voices and what it does to the masses as they get lost in misinformation or disinformation that turns in and spills in?
He's literally framing.
In my commentary of Erica Kirk's powerful speech, I told you that I firmly believe that we are dealing with a spiritual war beyond a political war, a spiritual war. And why do I say this? Well, because we are dealing with what we could define as not even humans, but flesh wrappings around demonic forces. But you might I understand. Maybe you think that I'm exaggerating, but I saw this clip today from this account, and I absolutely needed to show it to you so you can understand what I mean when people post things like this. Not only say things like this, what you're about to see, record themselves saying it, and they post it for the whole world to see. So let's watch this.
So I keep on seeing like posts about this Charlie dude, whatever, Kirk dude, whatever, regardless. And let me just say this, I'm surprised that y'all didn't get rid of him sooner. And I'm surprised that you guys aren't getting rid of more people. Like,
okay, she is surprised that they, I guess that whoever, the people who took out Charlie Kirk didn't do it sooner. And why did they stop there? By the way, this shocked me so much because later in this video, she refers to Charlie's wife, Erica, and his children, and their children, and say that they should go too. So they should be taken care of as well, if you know what I mean. And no, I really hope I was exaggerating this.
don't stop with him. Don't let him be the end dog. Get rid of them all. And the ones that are above him. Your mayor. Your city councilman. What is it? Georgia Power? The people that keep on raising our shit? The CEO. Get rid of them. Yeah. Like, what? It was so crazy. I watched like a 60-minute, whatever. Y'all know what I mean. 1 minute edit of like the things he said, and they're like so atrocious.
Well, one thing that I need to mention, and I need to be very clear about this, Charlie is getting absolutely taken out of context in ways that I couldn't have thought. Now, again, it can be a bit difficult to find the sources, but there are people trying to compile the original sources, so well, his words are not taken out of context. But we need to understand as well that some truths can be hard to swallow, especially if those, well, every truth hurts a lot of people. That is something normal. And some people simply don't have the, maybe the emotional infrastructure. Let's be compassionate. They don't have the emotional infrastructure to deal with the truth, with statistics, with facts. So, as in, I don't know who was the one who said that facts don't care about your feelings. But then it happens that they have this visceral reaction, and maybe they could be disgusted. Maybe you see something out of context and you could be disgusted. That is, that's something that can happen, right? Okay, maybe she saw this 60-second like breakdown or montage of Charlie Kirk words taken out of context, and she immediately made up her mind about that. That can happen, but maybe maybe your impulse is to be disgusted and to say, "Oh, what a jerk, what a dork, what a racist," and that's it, But proactively advocate for erasure of more people, including his wife and children. It's a bit too much in my book.
That, like, his wife deserves to go too. Y'all keep on talking about his wife and kids. They need to go too, because they're carrying on that mentality and that lineage. Like, get rid of the whole family. I'm so sorry. Why did you guys stop with him? Why did you stop with him? Go get his grandma, because who raised you? Like, your mom ought to be ashamed for birthing scum like you. Get rid of the whole family.
Now let's see. Let's think. Okay, this is social media and this is TikTok. People post stuff all the time to gather clicks, right? Oh, everything for a click, everything to garner attention. Maybe let's say that I'm her attorney and I'm trying to explain to a jury. She was just trying to garner clicks, Your Honor, and that kind of stuff. Because that's something that people do these days all the time, right? But even if I have, a long time relationship with social media since 2009, and I thought that I had seen every single way of garnering clicks, and believe me, I've seen some stuff that I don't want to talk about. Even in that regard, you are literally speaking your mind. I mean, she has the benefit that her account is rather small. It's rather obscure. But that's the kind of stuff that worries you a lot, because this is how it works. This is how it works in social media when you are clickbaiting for something. You want to grow your account.
So individuals trying to get clicks, they'll do anything. But Comedy Central wants nothing to do with the clicks from the South Park Charlie Kirk episode. For some reason, they don't want people seeing that right now. Interesting juxtaposition. I'm going to go to Mike first because he's on East Coast time, and I know he's got to skedaddle soon. All right, so what did you think as we reviewed that chunk of the week's news, Mike?
Well, just to go on what you just said, I think it's the new owners of South Park Skydance Media who has ties to Ellison family, so they're probably Trump adjacent, and so they want to keep the IP like South Park, but they don't want bad press right now. The deal is just going through, and so they're playing better safe than sorry on that one. So,
that's a well played point there, because that does make a lot of sense that they just want to keep everything quiet until the merger goes past, and they can pass that opportunity because they're in the middle of a bigger opportunity. And it does make sense. What do you think, Scott?
Yeah, I mean, I did the same thing. I went back through my socials and I did a search for Charlie and anything like, any of the memes I posted. I'm like, I don't, even though I doubt anybody was going to scroll back and see what my commentary was on it. It's like, I just don't want that loosh hanging over me. I don't want that juju hanging over me. You know what I mean? It's like, at the end of the day, when something like this happens, it's like, okay, we just need to respect the situation for what it is, and of course all these people are trying to be sensational and be the most edgelord, bringing the most controversy to get more clicks, and so it's a very demonic almost type of thing where it's just the paradigm we live in now, where it's like you're only as good as how many followers or clicks you have on something, right? That's just like, at least that's how some people view the world, which is sad. And like a lot of those people that were trying to be the most egregious and outdo each other with an even more awful take, it is less to do with the Charlie Kirk situation and more about them just garnering attention, and it's shameful. They should be mocked. They should be ridiculed. They should be put on blast. And I've seen a lot of calls for censorship this last week from people who 3, 4, 5 years ago were the victims of censorship. And so it's really interesting to see that. And a lot of people talking about pre-crime even. You know, it's like, hold on, guys. We have principles, remember. Hold on.
Who's asking for Palantir Gotham?
Yeah,
I bet they're already asking for that. I bet someone's talking to Trump about that right now.
100%.
Bet it's the dude we played the clip of last week. The pitchmeister for that. Yeah, that's real agendas being pushed forward that are not antithetical to what they were trying to do. So it's an interesting time to see all this politics unfold. Mike, where can people check out OBDM?
Oh, you can search for OBDM videos on YouTube or go to obdmpod.com or ourbigdumbmouth.com. All the links are there. You know, check it out.
Now, how do you keep
check
people?
it out? It's hilarious. You guys have to check out OBDM. It's one.
Yeah, and he has a great soundboard too. He didn't use it tonight, but you were free to hit the buttons on your soundboard if that.
Oh
comes
no.
Yeah,
I respect your show. I don't bring any of my nonsense into your show.
I mean, look at her. My God.
You got your own. You got your own.
I got a couple.
He's got a couple, but you're more advanced. Next time you come back, you can bring any appropriate sounds that we need for that week's show.
You guys got it, dude. Like the Alex Jones crazy clips, dude. Like, you're just a legend for that, dude. I love it.
Yeah, we've been archiving Alex Jones for I don't know a very long time, and I have so many sound bites. It's insane. It's a hobby at this point, but I don't need it. But here we are. I have them all.
You know, the morning after I did that interview with you, I get a text from my buddy about, like, get with the game. Crocs are where it's at. And I thought they were my son's Crocs, but I looked over on the deck. I'm like, no, look, they're right there. So I was like, oh, he's listening to the podcast. So like, it wasn't long before that started to trickle back. And that was a really fun time that I had. And not all my interviews are like, I mean, it could have been a heavy interview, but we didn't talk about the week's current events. We talked about bigger picture stuff because I think we all probably needed a break from that. So that's why I'm saying it was a fun conversation, and I'm looking forward to digging deeper. And thank you for, as a courtesy, sitting in the third chair tonight, riding along with us shotgun as we try to go through some of these tougher clips, because I'm not sure what follows probably isn't any easier, but you're a veteran of such things. So thank you for making time in your schedule, and I look forward to seeing you again, Mike.
Well, thank you guys, Scott, Richard. It was an honor, and I'll see you guys soon.
All right, thanks, Mike. Appreciate
Catch you on the flip side. Thank you. I've dealt with a variety of fears over the years by facilitating a growth mindset and an anti-fragile mentality. I've learned from mistakes that you haven't even conceived of yet. Now, I can't do it for you, but I can share the resources, the methods, the tools, and inspiration for you to learn how to do it for yourself. And it really is worth learning how to do for yourself because it's a lifelong beneficial skill. It's evergreen. It's never going to tarnish. You're always going to use this. If you're interested in learning more, I host a podcast every Sunday night. We analyze the week's news and help you have non-contradictory views. You actually understand, but you've got to come along for the ride and process the news with us so you have that understanding. I also teach adults twice a year in a 12-week course called Autonomy that is aimed at resolving all the problems I just pointed out with the school system and the irrational fears and the replacement of the rites of passage and the methods you need to have a skeleton key in life and a Swiss Army knife so you can have the tools and the access to do whatever you need to do in this world to bring your goals, to bring your dreams and map them to a truthful reality. It is a simple process, but it is not for those who cling to their irrational fears. So I hope if we have lowered the barrier to entry today, if you see a future you that is more realistic and in detail and something you want to strive toward, I recommend you go to getautonomy.info. Check out the offer as far as what we do for people. I want you to know it applies to you. You can learn it. I can teach it. So I want to thank you all for your time and attention. Peace. Who's going to be first off the mute this morning?
I'm glad that I have this course now more than ever. Having a community of people to discuss how to be empowered and autonomous is really necessary and also therapeutic. I'm this much scared about the virus and a lot scared of what's coming down the pipe as a result.
All right, so first off, we're going to get you away from that fear and that stress that I'm sensing. And I want to get you into the practicality of exercising the conversations you're going to need to have.
Have you found that your skills aren't matching up with the challenges ahead? Here are 19 essential skills for success that school never taught you. Get your free copy by following the link below or visit getautonomy.info/19skills.